Welcome to the Cougar Cast here at the Kokomo Post Sports. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, and this is the place to get all the information on what's going on inside the athletic department at IU Kokomo. And joining us at the top of a very special show this week is the head track and field coach at IUK. It's Josh Colvin. And I say special because this week the track and field team will be competing in the outdoor national meet at Indiana Wesleyan, not that far away. Coach, this is an exciting week for us, but also for you because you're getting to coach these talented athletes at a meet that's not that far away.
Yeah, you know, it's a little bittersweet being at Indiana Wesleyan. We the previous 8 years were in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and so last year and this year it's been at Indiana Wesleyan. So taking a trip to Gulf Shores was really, really nice, but we do get to sleep in our own beds when we're here, and there's a lot to be said about that. Not have to stay in a strange bed or in a hotel room. So it's got its advantages for sure.
This week and this opportunity that we have today, like in the indoor season and even in cross country as well, being able to talk to the athletes that are competing in nationals, we get to hear their stories. But what's it like for you, and what stories do you have leading up to this big week for the track and field team, and what it means for you to be their coach right now?
Well, I mean, it's a pleasure to be a coach of these phenomenal athletes. But that I can't, go on without saying, talking about my awesome assistant coaches, Coach Five Code, who we're going to be talking about a little bit later with the athletes. He just does a phenomenal job. He's our associate head coach. He works with the racewalkers, the javelin throwers, the long distance athletes. Coach Grant Gaylor, our national champion, when he was throwing for us in the shot put, he does also a phenomenal job, and he has a young lady, Sydney Duncan, who is going to be competing tomorrow and on Thursday in the hammer throw and the shot put. And Coach Nolan Talley, he was a student athlete for us, and a coach for us this past year, but he's going to go on and he's going to be our coach because he's graduated now. So he's going to be our sprint jumps hurdle coach, and they just all do a phenomenal job, and they make my job easier, that's for sure. And I just can't be more blessed to be here sitting in this position, because that means that we are having some success. And you want to have people on here who are being successful. So we feel good about that for sure.
You mentioned a few of the athletes who will be competing, but who and when will the athletes be competing this week?
Okay, well, as always, I got to go to the glasses here. So I got to be able to read off my list here. So tomorrow is Wednesday, and we have 3 athletes competing. So Emma Byram will be competing in the javelin. She's currently ranked 10th in the nation, and she's looking to possibly become All-American, top 8 or All-American. So she's going to be in the third flight of the javelin. The javelin actually starts at 7 p.m., but she'll be in the third, so she'll throw a little bit later. They're going to take 9 to finals, and so if she can get to finals, she has the opportunity. She only has to beat one person really to be All-American, but she's going to try to see how well she can do there. We also have Hannah, and you'll talk to her a little bit later here, but Hannah Wells is in the 3K steeplechase. She is in the second semifinal, and the first semifinal starts at 7:25. If she can be in the top 5 in her semifinal, then she's guaranteed a spot in the final on Friday. If she's not in the top 5, then the other semifinal will also have a top 5. So they're going to take the top 5 from the first semifinal, top 5 from her semifinal, then the 4 next fastest. So she can't be in the top 5. Hopefully she's one of those next 4. So basically taking the top 14 to the finals on Friday. And then Sydney Duncan is going to be competing in the hammer throw. It actually starts at 3:30, but she's in the second flight, so she'll throw a little bit later beyond 3:30. So we have 3 going tomorrow. And then on Thursdays, our race walk day. So Maddie Dotlich, Ethan Carmean, and Nick Anders, you'll speak with them here in a little bit. But Maddie will be competing in the 5K race walk at 4:45. There is only one flight of that, 21 women. So she'll be going to 4:45, and then there's only one flight of the men, and they will start at 5:15. So Ethan and Nick, and I will say, like with Ethan, he was 10th in the nation indoor. So, there's a possibility there of an All-American. And, of course, Nick and Maddie and Sydney, Hannah, along with Emma, they all have opportunities. That's why we run the races and we have the events, because, you go there and you pop a big one, and then you have as good of opportunity as anybody else in that race or in that throwing event to be successful. So that's what we're hoping for. And of course, we did qualify Julian Wallace in the 400-meter hurdles, but he decided to go to Europe. He had planned that trip a while back. I mean, he did know that Nationals was during the same time he was going to be gone. Obviously, no guarantee he was going to qualify for Nationals, but he did. So we do want to mention him, but he will not be competing because he's halfway across the world right now.
Let's stick with Julian here really quick. I know he's not here, but I would love to hear what you heard from him about what it means for him to at least qualify for the national meet.
So Julian's been a great story. You know, you kind of talk a little bit to some of these athletes about their journey here to IUK, and you know he graduated in, I believe, 2019. And from Kokomo High School, and he went to state in the 800 meters, but he decided to go to the University of Ohio, and he wasn't going to compete in track and field. Well, after a year at University of Ohio, he decided to come back home, and he wanted to transfer to IUK, and he sought me out on campus and said, hey, you know, I'm thinking about running track and field. So, you know, we were very fortunate that he decided that. But his, 3 years ago, when his first year on the team, he discovered like the indoor 600 was like his event, and he was so close. Within a second of hitting nationals in the 600. So we kind of thought, you know, which was last year, so a year later, that he could qualify in the indoor 600 last year, where they made the standard harder. Julian comes out and runs the time that would have qualified him the year before, but he still just missed it within a second or so. And then finally this year in the indoor 600, he finally, you know, hit the standard, even though it had gotten tougher again. He had hit the standard and qualified for nationals. So, and then with him in the 400 hurdles, like he really just picked that up last year. I mean, wow. The kid's an 800 meter runner in high school. We were looking at him in like the 600, 400, 4x4, and 200. I mean, he actually did the decathlon this year.
That's right.
He attempted the decathlon. And so he found the 400 hurdles, and we were like, that's your wheelhouse for outdoor. I know last year he just missed it, qualifying for nationals last year. So he finally did it this year at Bloomington, Indiana, so like 2 weeks ago. So when he hit it, we were all excited, but then we all kind of knew, but yeah, he's very, he knows, you know, he's very fortunate. He knows that he had the opportunity not only to go to indoor, but to outdoor as well.
And I may have missed this earlier. We got to hear when you went through the list, some of the race walkers. I think there's just one race. There's no finals down the road.
Correct.
I know for some, I think Hannah, there's a semifinals, but then there's how you qualify for finals. Is there like a final round for the throwers?
Yeah, so with Sydney and the hammer and then the shot put, she'll compete. They have 3 flights, I believe, in each event,
okay.
And then they'll take the top 9
okay.
best throws, go to the finals, and then of course the top 8 will be All America. So you just, if you make the finals, you really just got to beat one other person. And the javelin's going to be the same. So Emma's in the, I guess you could say, the best javelin flight with the best throwers, because they're going to go third. So she will kind of watch the first 2 javelin flights and know, okay, if I could throw farther than these girls, I'm good, but I've got to throw farther than the people in this, because there's, in her flight, because I want to ensure myself the top 9. So she'll have an advantage seeing that a little bit. Sydney is in the second flight of hammer. And so there's going to be a third flight behind her. So she's not, she's going to see the first flight of hammer, but, she kind of has to sit around after the third flight to see if she makes it. Fortunately, she's in the third flight of the shot put. So it's going to be a similar situation with Emma, in the fact that she can see who's throwing in the first couple flights, and then, say, hey, okay, I know where I need to be, at least to get into those finals. The finals of those throwing events will happen pretty much right after the third flight.
Oh, same day.
Same day. But it's the and for our athletes, the only one that would have a final on a different day would be the 3K steeplechase. So, or 3K steeplechase. Yeah, but the race walks all one event, one race. So they have you have semis of the 1500, you have semis of the 5K. But with our athletes, it would be Hannah possibly running Friday. We say that if the RSC Hannah shows up, we're going to be racing Friday, because since she's been here, it seems like her best runs have been during indoor and outdoor cross country River States Conference. The rest of the events we have no idea what she's doing those other days of our races, but RSC. So we're trying to get in that mindset.
Now, some of you that heard the show last week, watched the show last week, got to hear Emma Byram and Cindy Duncan tell a funny story about one of the coaches. I wasn't planning on doing this with you, but could you please give us a funny story about Hannah, the young lady you just talked about?
Well, Hannah, when you hear her later on, she's going to probably talk about a funny story about me about food, and I don't really know why food has to come into play. So Hannah is, boy, I'll tell you, there is a lot of stories, but I would probably just kind of piggyback off of that whole, when she said I was chewing in her ear, that kind of thing. And so I was just sitting there, we were at the tent at one of the meets, and I was eating like a sandwich, and she was too. And I don't know, she was probably making fun of me for something, because she always does. And I just started chewing really, really loud in her ear, like smacking my lips and going like that. And she just didn't know what to do. She was just like, she had no idea. Like, nobody's ever done that to her before. So, it was like, what do I do in this situation? So, Hannah's, you can make fun of her pretty easily too and get her going. It's pretty easy to do, for sure. For sure.
We'll have to do that down the road. I really appreciate Coach Josh Colvin coming on the show. And coming up next, we'll get to hear from 4 track athletes that will be competing, IU Kokomo athletes that will be competing this week at the Outdoor National Track and Field Meet. As the Cougar Cast rolls on a special show today, we are joined by a couple athletes that will be representing IU Kokomo at the NAIA Outdoor National Track and Field Meet in Marion, Indiana. Make sure you guys get out there and go support these talented athletes. To my right, she was here during the cross-country season. She's here once again on the outdoor track and field season. It's Hannah Wells. She is competing in the 3,000-meter steeplechase and got A standard in that throughout the regular season portion. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back. It's good to be back.
I'm glad you're here as well. And to her right, it is someone who was here during the indoor season who competed in nationals, but now is back in the outdoor season competing in nationals as well. It's Maddie Dotlich who will be competing in the 5,000-meter race walk. Maddie, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Let's stick with you really quickly. Did you think that you would have an opportunity to compete in nationals in both the indoor and outdoor seasons?
Honestly, I was pretty confident that I was going to make it. Last year, I was really close to the standard for outdoor, and meeting an indoor nationals standard ensured my confidence that I would make it this time. So,
how did competing in indoor help your confidence during the outdoor season?
Just the fact that I was able to make the national standard once helped me be confident in making the national standard again, and just had confidence in my training and trusting the process and everything.
Hannah, you were here during cross country, and I was I enjoyed our conversation, but also I liked getting to know the stories and hearing about you and your journey getting to IUK. Did you think, though, throughout this whole entire journey, you would be competing this week at Outdoor Nationals in Marion?
Not at all, honestly. I think I knew, in my training, that it was definitely there. Starting off from indoor track season to kind of transition into outdoor, it was definitely a rocky kind of start. I definitely wasn't really hitting the times that I had wanted to hit toward the beginning, which I knew I could have been, but toward the end I started gaining a lot more confidence, and my time started coming back. And then kind of again, it was kind of a little bit rocky toward the start of the season, and I don't know, something must have just kind of clicked, and the time just kind of kept cutting down, especially in the steeplechase. And I think conference is where I had my most breakthrough performance, and that's when I kind of thought, yeah, I definitely have the ability to compete out there with some of the top people who have placed multiple times in nationals. So
the steeplechase itself being one of those events that is not you don't compete in high school, and then it's a little bit still abnormal, even at the college or even professional level in the Olympics and things like that. Was it difficult once you started to kind of go over and still keep your pace once you went over that hurdle?
Yeah, it's definitely like not the easiest to like get a rhythm down, but I'd say I still struggle with it in practice sometimes. I have quite a few like stutter stepping moments, but I think it's all about rhythm and then timing for sure. And once you really get down that water pit jump, which has taken me some time, but now I'm just now able to come around and get it just right. It's a lot. It goes a lot more smoothly for sure.
Speaking of pace on her and her stutter steps, how difficult is it still possibly for you to get your steps down correctly and swiftly at the right pattern you want and pace you want in the race walk?
It can be difficult sometimes, especially when there's like form is like a huge factor.
Yeah.
It's something I've really been struggling with recently. I actually got disqualified at nationals for my form.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at indoor nationals I got disqualified. So that was like a really big hurdle I had to jump through. And then at the beginning of it, outdoor season, I had a couple issues with my form. And, sometimes when you start getting flags in the middle of the race, you really got to be like, okay, I need to slow down, focus on, making sure my foot's hitting the ground and keeping one foot on the ground at all times and, straight knee and all that. Can't get too carried away with like fast-paced race. And there's a lot of factors into it, so.
Have you ever tried to compete in race walk? Because the way she describes it makes it sound really difficult.
No, I mean, I've like goofed around and tried and like walk like fast and stuff like that, but like seeing like the technique, it's not an easy one to get down right off the bat. I've noticed that, especially with like professional race walkers. It's for real.
It's so intense. I don't know if it was you the last time you were here or if it was Nick and Ethan. I'm not sure which one of you guys it was, but I compared it to like just me being goofy maybe, but people in the mall walking in the morning just at the quick pace that they're doing, but they don't have to keep like knees straight, foot on they can, if they want to start running, they can just because they're not kept by those restrictions. It does seem very difficult. And I think to the average person, you're like, oh, it's race walking, it's easy. No, I would highly encourage everybody to watch these athletes this week while they're competing, and you'll see how difficult it is and how big of an accomplishment it is for them to be where they currently are. What do you do in your mind when you're struggling and like, man, it's just not clicking right? How do you get out of that rut?
Oh, yeah, that's just something I've definitely started struggling with because the entire last year, I didn't get a single card for my form at all.
Okay.
So this has been like a recent issue. But I started thinking of it as like, okay, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like getting cards, like especially getting yellow cards. There's yellow and reds.
Yeah.
3 reds, you get disqualified. So the yellow ones are almost just like a warning. And that's almost good. You almost want that because that means you're pushing the boundaries. That means, you're doing the most that you can. So that's just kind of how I started thinking about it, and just, really just start to lock in and just make sure I don't get disqualified.
No, I bet not. What does it mean for you to be competing at nationals this week?
It means a lot. It definitely means that I've had the ability this whole time, and now I can really put it all out. I didn't really show up for nationals and cross country like how I wanted to, so this time around I definitely would like to come back with some more like determination and kind of prove something that I can put it out for track for sure.
What does it mean for you, Maddie, to be competing in nationals this week?
It means a lot to me, just being able to have another chance to, hang on, I'm trying to find the words.
Take your time.
Like showing for my team, like, being there, like showing that, like, we're a good school and everything. So.
Last thing here with you, we did this last week with Emma and Sydney, and I hope neither one of your coaches told you about this. I would like for you, Maddie, to tell us and provide a goofy story about your coach, Jordan 5 coat. And I'm saying this to everyone watching right now, he's actually in the room, and he knew about this last week, but he didn't tell them, I can tell. So They're on the spot. He's not. But still, I'll get out the way and be quiet.
I have quite a few moments where he's been goofy. There's so many. I can't think of one. He just like bursts out in like random like characters, I guess.
Which characters, not just one, which characters pop out into your head?
He just like will call us like goofy names. Like my friend Erica, he calls her Erica. He calls me Mad Dog. So.
I like that one. I like that a lot. And Hannah, we're not going to go with 5 coat for this one because I know he still coaches you. Let's go with Colvin because no one is going to really go that route.
Okay.
Tell us a goofy story about Coach Colvin.
I have, I guess, quite a few so far. Ones that are okay to maybe put on the. Goodness. Oh, is it okay if I tell? I was sitting in the I remember I was sitting in the office and him and Jordan kept pulling out like these like pizza boxes from Pizza Hut, and I was like, "Are you gonna share some with me or something like that?" And then all of a sudden he just starts like shoving pizza in his face, and it's like, "Are you gonna body shame me? Are you gonna body shame me?" I just keep shoving pizza in his face, and I've got him on video like doing that, and I think it's hilarious. Or I think another time we were at a Marion University meet, and we were eating some McAllisters, and I'm just sitting in the chair next to him. He's just purposefully like chewing with his mouth open in my ear, and I'm like, "Thanks, Coach." That's great.
Thank you. I'll remember those food ones. I remember that Mad Dog too. I might use that the next time you're here because I do believe you'll be here down the road. I want to appreciate Maddie Dotlich and Hannah Wells for coming on the show to talk about their what it means for them to be competing in the outdoor national meet at IWU this week. Coming up next, got 2 more track athletes to talk about and to hear what it means for them to be competing in the outdoor meet this year. As the Cougar Cast rolls on, I'd like to welcome to the show a couple individuals that competed in the indoor national meet for IU Kokomo. And they're competing once again in the outdoor national meet. To my right, it is Ethan Carmean. He is competing in the 5,000 meter race walk, got A standard in that during the outdoor season. Ethan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And to his right, it is Nick Anders competing also in the 5,000 meter race walk. He got B standard in that during the outdoor season. Nick, welcome back to the show. Now, how surprised are either of you right now that I did not have to write down glasses on my paper to know who is who?
Quite frankly, I'm a little shocked myself.
Yeah.
It personally helped that one of you arrived a little bit earlier, and I was like, oh, Coach said Nick. It kind of helped me remember who is Nick and who is Ethan. People that don't know, last time they were here, I literally had to write on the paper, on my notebook, that one wore glasses, that one didn't, because I could not remember their names when I first saw them. Saw pictures, but memory wasn't working the best. Ethan, let's start with you here quickly. You're here once again. You're here on the indoor national meet, outdoor national meet. What lessons did you learn from the indoor meet that you're going to use to help you this week?
I think it's definitely helpful since got the experience. The judges are always the best thing to figure out. I've learned a lot since then. I didn't get disqualified indoor, so I'm hoping outdoor will go the same. It's going to be a lot of fun, a good experience. Definitely still kind of worried about that heat, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm definitely excited.
That heat, is that one of the things that you hope, not hope, but what type of temperature and weather would you prefer?
Honestly, I'd rather prefer it to be like 40 degrees, just since I wouldn't be hot. But I prefer that over 80 degrees and sweating my butt off. So, but hey, that's just a personal feeling. I know Nick probably doesn't think the same about that, but we beg to differ. So,
what do you think about the temperature? What do you prefer?
Personally, I enjoy the heat.
Yeah.
I'd much rather race in heat than I am in cold. I got asthma, so it helps my breathing and my legs work a little bit better.
What lessons did you learn? Similar thing I asked Ethan. What lesson did you learn at the indoor meet that you're going to use to help you this week?
So, unlike Ethan,
yeah,
I did get disqualified in my race walk for nationals. So, I've just been cranking down the past few weeks in my form, making sure that's up to par, working on my speed. So, I feel like this meet's going to be good.
So it's interesting you bring up the form because Maddie was literally sitting in that seat talking about her form and the importance of it and sometimes the struggles or how to get out of a rut when the form might not be the way that you would like for it to be. How hard is it to keep the proper form so you don't get flags during the race?
I would say for me, it's been very difficult just because you want to get a fast pace, but you don't want to push over that line of running. So you want to keep your legs as straight as you can, but when you're going that speed, it's hard to keep that knee straight the whole time. So it's just important to do that. And then I've been working on just kind of pushing my, kind of essentially stepping when I'm walking. So pushing my foot up. So that's been helpful.
Wouldn't that be a little bit difficult though to keep to not get flagged if you're thinking about something new and trying to push your foot up there? Sometimes naturally we think, oh, I can do a little bit extra, and then that extra you do is illegal and you get flagged. I feel like that'd be a little bit difficult to try to do something that you're discussing, but also to keep from doing something illegal at the same time.
Yeah, it is. A lot of times I have to kind of slow down a little bit, get my form right, and then speed back up. So I do that sometimes through the race and just focus on what I'm doing and my form.
Ethan, what pace do you try to go at in a race? Start, middle, finish? Is there kind of a mental pace, at least to a physical pace, that you try to stay inside of that box during the race?
Going out, definitely kind of overdo it because you want to get out that first, it's 5K, different than a 3K for indoor. During our workouts and stuff, my race pace, it's right around that 7-minute mile mark. Which is great by any means, but keeping it is kind of the hard thing because over time obviously gets hotter. So when it's this hot out, that's why I really don't like it personally. But as opposed to Nick, it's just that 7-minute pace is hard to keep. The heat builds up. Next thing you know, you start slowing down and you start making more mistakes. And so I kind of try to start off that 7-minute mile, keep it as long as I can, and then halfway in kind of slow down a little bit while still kind of keeping pace, and then hoping that I don't start getting, getting called out by the refs. That's when you just start mentally just start going, and it's just not a good thing to keep. I just try to keep that turnover high. So.
Nick, do you have more battles mentally or physically during a race?
Honestly, I'm more of a mental.
Okay.
Just because, like Ethan said, when you get called out by the ref, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix? So it kind of messes with your mental game a lot.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, you got to keep a strong head. But on the other hand, it also is physically taxing. Race walk, it kills your knees, it kills your hips. So there's really not a moment in there where I'm not in pain.
So I want to ask 2 more questions apiece with both of you here. What does it mean for you, Nick, to compete in the outdoor meet this week?
It was huge. Just because I was really worried with how I did in nationals for the indoor.
Yeah.
And with this being my last meet ever for college athlete, it was huge to be able to race one last time.
Ethan, what does it mean for you to compete this week in the outdoor national meet?
It's great, it's closer for family, so all my family can be there, support me, see me one last time before I go off and have that big boy job, make all that money, but go out with a nice little bang at the end of the year, make the coaches happy, score points for the team, show out.
So you two are in a spot right now that everybody in the room knows what's going to happen next, but you guys don't. There's no pranks, nothing falling from the ceiling, nothing like that. Let's start with you first. Can you give us a goofy story about Five Coat, the guy who's coaching you this week?
Oh my. That's a tough one. Without going too crazy, I don't know. He likes Batman.
Batman?
Yeah. I don't know. That's not much of a goofy story. He's a goofy guy, but on the spot, I don't really have a good one cooked up, but.
Does he have a nickname for you?
Glasses should have been next. But for me, not really.
No?
No. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
If you could please provide us with a goofy story, a funny story about Coach Josh Colvin.
That's kind of similar with Ethan. They do a bunch of crazy stuff throughout the season, but as far as coming up with one on the spot, we don't really got one to provide.
Oh man,
Santa
so
Claus
lucky.
got away with that one.
Yeah, he did get lucky. I really appreciate Nick Anders coming on the show once again. He was here in the indoor season, here in the outdoor as well. Also, Ethan, got the names right, guys, coming on for the indoor and outdoor seasons as well. This has been the Cougar Cast. We'll see you next time.